There we go. All right. What is up, guys? We are live. Let me just send the announcement in the Discord. Okay, perfect. There we go. Okay, so basically this week, today, it hasn't been a whole week this time, so that's nice. But basically today we're going to be hopping back in with our game because we certainly did not finish it last time. So yeah, we're going to be continuing with our development here. Now, I have made a couple of changes since the last time we were on. So let me just go ahead and show those right quick. Just some minor things. First, we added this world environment right at the end last time. And I just changed some of the sky colors. So we have like this dark sky with kind of a red horizon, because I like red and, twilight or whatever, sunset, something like that. And then the ground, if we look at the sky here, we can see that you can choose the top color, the horizon color, and then the bottom color. So the bottom color, I just made it the same color as our planes here that we use for ground. So it kind of blends in. And I think it blends in decently well when we're in play mode. It kind of looks like the green just goes on into the distance, and then we have sky. So it's not as obvious that we just have these planes here. Now, the second thing I added is, and I'll show you guys how this is implemented in just a second, but I added an on-screen log so we can kind of see log messages on screen. So, for example, with our raycasts, we're printing out what is being hit by the raycast, and so that's now printed out on screen instead of just in the log, because obviously if we're playing a full-screen game, we can't see the log down here. So as far as how the log is implemented, basically, I created a script called logger.gd, and then if you go to project settings, then you can just add that script as an auto load script. And then if you add it as an auto load, that means there will always be one of this script in the game. So you can simply reference it by saying logger dot, in this case, log. So basically, if you turn auto load on, it'll make sure there's only ever one of this script, and there is always one of this script. And if those two things are true, then you can just access an object like that by simply saying logger. The fancy name for it is a singleton, but that's just, a singleton is just something where there's always one and only one of a script usually. Okay, so yeah, we can just run logger.log with whatever message we want, and then it'll go ahead and get this text object, which is right here. We just have a label called log, and it'll add the message and then a new line and then whatever was already there. So we just get a nice stack of log messages, one on top of the other. And then also prints it out just in case I want to look at this after play mode is over. So yeah, and then basically with this little script in here, we can just replace any calls to print with logger.log and then whatever we want. And there we go. So that's change number 2. We have the color changes, we have the logging changes, and then the last thing is I actually got the raycasting to work. So the raycasting, pretty simple. Basically, there was apparently a raycast node all along. So if you add a new node, if you search for raycast, you can see there's a raycast 2D and a raycast 3D. And if you just add a raycast 3D to, say, the camera, which is what we did here, then it will automatically raycast for you over and over again. So all you have to do in your code is say, if raycast.isColliding, and then if it is, then you can say collider equals raycast.getCollider. And if it is colliding, then it'll just give you whatever it's colliding with. And then here we're just printing out the name. So, of course, now if we play the game, you can see whatever we print at, or whatever we're pointing at, it'll print it out to our new on-screen log. So those features kind of come together to get that going. And of course, if something doesn't have a collider, like for example, these trees or this fence or this barn, then we can't have it printed out to the screen yet. So we definitely need to add the ability to do that, which we'll do soon. And actually probably right now. Yeah, sure. Why don't we go ahead and add colliders for all of these different things. And we don't need the colliders so that we can interact with them, because we probably won't be interacting with the fence or this, but we need them so that we can't actually just walk out of the world, which is not ideal. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead in and, oh, hang on. we need to, there we go. We need to add ourselves some colliders. So if we take one of these fences, let's see, let's go into fencing, fences, close all of these up. Okay, so let's go into this one. And here is one of our fences. So as you can see, we can pretty much just use a box collider and then just shape it around these 5 fences. And we should have a way to keep our player in sort of in bounds. Yeah, so let's go ahead and add that. We can just, we can't just add a collider though, because obviously we want the player to be able to interact with it, to be able to hit against it. So we need to add a static body, which is basically like a rigid body, except it doesn't move. So it's something that's can be hit against with rigid bodies, but it can't ever move. So it's static. And we'll call this fence. And then we'll put these fences inside of it just to keep everything organized. And then we'll put a collider inside of it as well. So we can search for collision shape 3D. There we go. And then we can just turn this into a box, a new box shape. Okay, and then all we have to do is put it onto our fence. And we should probably, I'm realizing these are kind of offset. So let's move the fences out and then move this over to them. So that it's actually kind of centered. Boop, boop. And then we'll put the fences back inside of it. And now the whole thing is kind of a centered unit. Okay. And then the collision shape, we just need to stretch this out so that it actually fits our bounds. So let's go to the edge, roughly. And we don't have to be too precise with this. We just want to make sure it's over rather than under, if necessary, so that the player can't get out. The width ones should probably be a little bit more precise. And of course the height one, well, actually we may want the height one to be a little bit extra, because we don't want, the player can't jump. We might as well leave it a regular height, just in case we decide to add anything else later. Okay, so once we have a decent box shape around this, I'm probably just going to scrap the rest of the fences and replace them with this. But let's just make sure it works first. Oop, we deleted the wrong one there. Let's just make sure that our fences object works first by walking into it. It was one of the, I think it was this one maybe. Yeah, here we go. And there we go. That's pretty good. We can't walk past it. And obviously we can still walk through the others, but it seems like it's a pretty reasonable shape around here. So yeah, let's go with that. And then we'll just go ahead and delete the other fences and replace them with this one. So then we can just place these around wherever we want them to be. And this time I want to make sure that these posts are actually lined up decently, because last time I think they were a little bit, there were some places where there were some like gaps and stuff. So we probably want, we probably don't want the fences to overlap, because that would be a little weird, but we probably want them to be butting up against each other, just like they would be in real life. If you had a real fence. That's close enough. Actually, we probably want this one to go all the way to the barn. So let's rotate it a little better. And position it. Seems reasonable. And then let's just go ahead and move the barn for this. To get, barn. Where's the barn? Buildings. That would make sense. Okay, it's apparently barn 2. Let's make sure, again, that we don't have any overlap, just to make it a little bit more realistic. I want it to be just right up against. Perfect. Okay, 2 fences down. And we kind of have a general idea of our area. So let's keep duplicating and rotating. Seems like a reasonable rotation. Maybe a little bit wider for this one, a little bit more space gathered in. Fences are a little too shiny for my liking. I don't know why they're so shiny. We might have to do something about that. But okay, that should be good enough. This tree, I guess, is just like right on the edge. Duplicate it again. This one could be kind of pretty much flat on like this. Drag it in. Make sure we get a decent positioning here. Make a nice steep one so we don't get out too big. Might be a little bit too steep, I don't know. We'll leave it, it's fine. Okay, another one. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And then I think we'll need one decent angle, but I think we can get this. I think we can make this the last one. Most likely. Yeah, we should definitely be able to make that the last one. Okay, if we wanted to line up with the same point on the barn, then we may have to go back and readjust. But, you know, symmetry is always great, so let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, so it's lined up nicely there. Let's rotate in a little more, actually. Hang on. Move it back. So, yeah, there we go. Just barely not clipping. Excellent, excellent. And then I think if we do that, then we'll be able to get this last one to be, if we can position this last one to be in the right place, we'll be good. That is just one fence. We would like the whole unit. Okay, this might not actually be quite right. Let's go ahead and move it like so. I think we wanted to, because we have to make sure these line up. So I think we want this one to tilt out a little bit so that we have space for the other one to rotate. So we need to make sure they all fit without any weird overlapping or anything like that. Okay, this last one, somewhere around there, I think. Oh, that's really close. That's really close. Okay, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. We definitely need like that. And then it's, is it not enough? Let's see. Let's make sure this guy's touching over on our end. Okay, and this guy, we can just fine tune him. Just fine tune him just a tiny bit. I'm not sure. There might be a tiny gap, but I think it's pretty good. So let's make sure that we can't get out. Oh, we probably can still get out through the barn, but aside from the barn, we don't have any jumping or anything, so we really can't get out of our little arena here. So that's good. Trees still don't have colliders, so we probably want to add that. Yeah, so there is a tiny gap here, but I think that's okay. Maybe the farmers just weren't quite perfect at their fence placement right there. Okay, so the barn needs a collider, and we need colliders for trees as well. So let's go ahead and add those. And again, because we don't have any jumping or anything, we can actually just add really simple colliders to just the bottom parts of the trees, and that should be enough. So let me just delete the extra trees. Then this guy, we'll go ahead and add a rigid body, or not a rigid body, because we don't want the tree to fall over. We want a static body. And then we'll put the tree inside the static body, and we'll also put a collision shape 3D inside there, and we'll just reshape it to cover the base of the tree. We probably want a cylinder for this, I would think. It's tree isn't quite square. It's not perfectly cylindrical either, but I think that'll be the most reasonable. So we can position it like that, and then just pull in the radius a little bit. We might actually need to angle it, I'm not sure. Let's see. We definitely move it over a little bit. That seems pretty decent, I would say. Seems pretty decent. We can test it out in play mode. See if it seems reasonable. Yeah, there we go. No walking through the tree, and it's a very simple collider. So again, since we have just such a simple game, we don't have to make the most perfect colliders ever. Okay, and then we will rename this to tree. And then we can just duplicate them to get some good variation going. Let's put him in the corner over there. We can make a few more trees, nice and spaced out so the player doesn't have any issues walking. A little bit sad that they're all the same shape, but we could actually probably scale some of them. Let's see, scale. Okay, that is acting really weird. Let's just scale it in the inspector so we can make sure it's perfectly uniform. That's a big tree. We got a big tree, and these other ones, we can at least just rotate them so they don't all look exactly the same kind of situation. Let's scale this one too. He seems like a good candidate for our scaling. I don't know, I guess, so yeah, it doesn't, even if you drag it with this little rectangle, it allows you to still non-uniformly scale it, which I don't like. Okay, if we hold shift, I think it locks it to uniform scaling. I would still like to scale all three axes though, so I'm going to do it in the inspector. Maybe not the exact same scale as the other one. Let's make him a little bit smaller. Position him over there, and then this last one we can just also rotate him a tiny bit. Okay, let's see how it looks in play mode. We have some different size trees, and they look like different shapes just because they're rotated, so not too bad, not too bad. Okay, and they should all be properly collidable, so we can't get through them. Yeah, definitely seems like they're properly collidable, so that's good. Let's see. Okay, so we should also definitely fix that camera, because that camera just went way upside down. Let's see. But yeah, if we go into play mode, you can see we can go over top and back around, which is not something you can usually do because the human head can't actually rotate all the way around and then back down. So we should probably make some slight tweaks to the script to deal with that. Let's see. Okay, rotate. So currently what we're doing is we are getting the amount that the mouse moved, and then we're just rotating. We reset the rotation of the camera. We get the amount the mouse moved, we reset the rotation of the camera, rotation and position and everything, and then we just apply this new rotation. Interesting. So I think what we want to do is we just want to cap this. Let's see. Let's print out some things so we can kind of see what's going on, or rather log them with our logger.log rotx and logger.log roty. Let's see. Let's kind of get an idea of what these variables look like. That should help out. Okay, we need to, apparently our logger script wasn't very safe, because we didn't convert whatever the input was to a string, which we should definitely do. So we can log things that aren't strings. Okay. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, the rotation.x is just increasing, or the rotx is just increasing if we go left and decreasing if we go right. And same with the y, we can just go around and around again. So all we have to do is cap the rot_x and the rot_y if we want to, and then that'll keep us from going all the way around. So a reasonable cap, hang on, let's hop back in and see what a reasonable cap would be. So we don't need to cap the x-axis because we want to be able to rotate around as many times as possible. But the y-axis, I think a reasonable cap is like pretty much all the way up, which looks to be about like 1.9, maybe 2. But let's make it not quite that much. Let's say 1.75. So you can get kind of a pretty up angle, but not too much. And then down, it looks like, let me get something in frame so we can see. All right, straight down looks like, again, about 1.75. So let's just cap it at 1.75 on both sides, negative and positive. So all we have to do is rotation.x equals rotation x equals rotation x plus that. So we just switch the plus equals into a regular. And then we can do clamp. And then clamp this between 1.75 and and negative 1.75. Minimum is first, naturally, negative 1.75 and 1.75. And then we'll just do the same thing for the y-axis. So we're setting it equal to itself plus the event position, just like we were before, except that we're now clamping the overall thing so that it has to be, oh, we don't want to do this for the x, actually. We only want to do it for the y. So the y will be clamped between negative 1.75 and 1.75, and the x will be unclamped. So we can rotate around sideways as many times as we want, and we'll be fine. But the y stops right here, can't rotate up anymore, and it stops down here. So as you can see, if we go over here, we look down, we can't look down anymore. Honestly, this looks like a little bit too far. We might make it like 1.6 or something. But yeah, the clamping is there, so you can't spin around over and over again, which is very weird. And we definitely don't want. So let me just make it negative 1.7 on there. And this one honestly could potentially go up a little bit more, so I'm going to say 1.85. I don't know why it's not quite symmetrical, but here we go. I feel like this seems to be just a regular rotation here, because if we're maxed on the y, then rotating on the x should just literally rotate us around in a circle, and we can see from the tree that it pretty much is. And then as far as looking down, this seems like looking straight down, so I think we're good to go. Clamping the camera is in place. Okay, so camera clamp is in place. We have collisions for a lot of things, but not everything. So we still need to add collisions for the barn, and then we can actually get to the gameplay, which we have not gotten to yet. I mean, we have added raycasting, which is an important part of the gameplay. So let's add a quick collision to the barn, and then we'll be good to go. Barn 2. Let's go ahead and add a static body, because again, we don't want it to move. And then we'll put the barn, the model of the barn under that static body. Not model, that's barn 2. And then the model is under there. And then we also need a collision shape 3D, which should be a box for sure. And then we can stretch it out to fill the entirety of the barn, or at least the bottom squarish part. So that's really all we need. Yeah, I'm gonna say the player can slightly clip into the doors rather than having it come out to the full edge. That seems like it would be a little weird. It doesn't really matter too much on the sides. Technically, we don't even need the full thickness, but just in the interest of being thorough, we'll just make sure that we have a decent collider here. Just in case, you know, if we decided to put the barn fully in the middle, well, now it would be in good condition for that. Make sure the back collider is reasonably placed. Okay, perfect. Just one quick test of that. So this is us going against the fence, then going against the barn, going against the fence again. There's no way out at all. Excellent. Okay, now the next thing is we can already point at the shovel and click on it, and you can see ground collider versus clicking on the shovel. So what we want to be able to do is pick up the shovel when we click on it. So probably we're going to come up with a sort of position where it should be held, maybe like a Minecraft style thing where the tools are usually kind of on the right side, sticking in a little bit or whatever. And then we can just put it in that position when they pick it up, or possibly like tween it up to that position. Oh, I also just realized we don't have any music, which we should probably add some music. So let me throw on some music right quick. Just whatever YouTube has for us today. Let's see. Let me filter by type. What type are you guys feeling? I tend to just go for, let's see, what are the genres? The genres available to us are all of these. I tend to go for cinematic. I feel like it adds a nice touch when you're looking at someone's game dev stream and they have kind of a cinematic type feel. So let's just pick a random one of these and then it'll just autoplay through. Boop-da-boop-da-boo. Might be a little bit too loud, I'm just guessing, but yeah, that seems decent. All right, let me know if that's annoying or anything, or if you want any different music. Okay, so again, yeah, the raycasting is working, but we need to make it so that we can actually pick stuff up. For example, this wonderful little shovel. So what I'm thinking is, again, I'm thinking we position it kind of like in Minecraft when you hold a tool or whatever, it just kind of shows up on the right-ish side of the camera. You just kind of have a little tool there. I'm thinking that's what we'll do, because it's probably easier than anything else that we might try to do. And we, again, have very limited time. So yeah, we can preview the camera. So let's actually just demo. Let's try to copy this shovel, and I'll put it in the props folder. But then we'll copy this shovel. We'll put it inside of the camera, and then we'll try to position it reasonably well, and then we'll record that position, and then when we actually go to pick up the shovel, we'll move it to that position. Okay, so if we're in the camera, this is where the camera is. The shovel is all the way over there. Is the shovel really over there? Shovel looking weird. Where's my... I don't know. Shovel invisible, I guess. Very odd. But it should be visible. Kind of weird. Why is our new shovel invisible? Let's see. What if we unparent it from the camera? It's just because it's parented to the camera. Okay, is that going to be a problem for us? It might be. Because currently we want it to probably rotate along with the camera, right? So that it's always here with you, whichever way you turn, because that's kind of how it works in real life. So we'll parent it to the player, since it doesn't show up if parented to the camera, but we will need to adjust our camera script so that instead of rotating the camera on the x-axis, we actually rotate the player on the x-axis. So let's see, rotation, instead of rotating ourself on the x-axis, we still want to rotate ourself on the y-axis because we don't want the player to rotate on the y-axis because that would be weird if the player tilted up, but we want to rotate the player on the x-axis. So we'll say get parent dot rotate object local with the x-axis, and we may also need to adjust the parent's transform, but we'll see. Yeah, it's not quite working right. I think if we do get parent dot transform dot basis equals basis, then we can hopefully pull off the X rotation. Excellent, excellent. So now, I mean, it looks no different, which is perfect, but now the player is actually rotating on the x-axis, and it feels a little different because currently we're using the camera to decide which way to move. So we need to return to using the player to decide which way to move. So let's see, in physics process, base transform is just going to equal transform, and then we'll move based on that. So again, now we are hello? That did not work as desired. Let's see. So when we use the camera as the transform, as the base transform, it works fine. But if we use ourself as the transform, it does not like it. Well, for some reason it just starts moving us out of the gate, which is very odd. I think, let's see. So the camera has, let's see. Let's take a look at our camera. Camera looks like that. Player looks like that. Not same axes and everything, so it seems like it should work. Very odd that it doesn't, for sure. Let me see. Let's see, what could be the issue? Need a little bit of extra. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we have our movement, and it works when based off of the camera. Well, it doesn't exactly work, but let's see. So if we're rotating the camera on the x-axis and using the camera as our transform, that works. However, if we rotate the player and use the player as our transform, it does not work. Let me see. What if we rotate both? What would happen then? Probably it would be not good. Let me see. Player movement equals camera, base transform equals camera.transform. Let's see. We want to do the let me think. Yeah, rotating both is not a good plan, because then we're gonna get twice the rotation, I believe. Let's see what the difference is between the player's transform and the camera's transform. See what the difference is there. And we needed to put that in the on-screen log. So we can see it nice and easy. Okay, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's really a lot, for sure. It's completely lagging out the game. So this may not work as a method of testing. Potentially, let's see, how can we check this? We could just go back through the log. If we just make this a little bit more suitable. we can just go back through the log and look at these at any given time. So we will put this as player and this as camera, just so we can see what's going on. We'll play the game for a quick second. Need a plus symbol. We'll play the game for a quick second. We'll look around to get some good values. And then since the game is extremely laggy, we'll close it and we'll look through our log for information. Okay, so for example, when the camera was this, the player was not anything even remotely similar. Interesting. So the other thing we could do is we could create a node 3D inside of the player, and then we could put the camera and the shovel inside of that. And this could be our rotator, and the player would not be rotated, but the rotator would be rotated, and the shovel can still be outside the camera while still achieving the same rotation. Get child 1.get child 0. We need to change how to get the camera, and there we go. Okay, we probably need to remove our print statement so we can actually test this. So let's comment these bad boys out for a second and take a look. Okay, so the rotation seems normal. The movement is not normal, but then again, as far as the player goes, we're not using the camera's transform, we're going to use the rotator.transform. And the rotator is going to be a new variable at onReady variable rotator, which is of course a node 3D equals get child 1. And we can make the camera rotator.getChild 0. Okay, perfect. So now we use the rotator's X angle to effectively decide how we are going to move, and that works. And our shovel is attached to us. There's our shovel right there. We're dragging it around with us as we rotate. It's not entirely working correctly, but that it also has collisions turned on. So I think that's why it's having some trouble. But we are dragging it around with us. Movement works. We go in the correct direction, even as we turn, and we can rotate around us as we should be able to. So excellent. There we go. We can remove these extra lines here. If the camera 3D script has any extra lines, we can of course remove them. Let's see. Nope, those are all necessary. Okay. So we have our new little rotator setup, and that setup allows us to have a little shovel or any other tool, hopefully in the future, near our camera, or at least keeping the same rotation as our camera will be having. So if we reset its position, then we can hopefully get it somewhere near the camera so that it can be visible. Okay, so currently we have camera right here, shovel right here, so we probably want to, let's see, the shovel would be held maybe something like this. If we rotate it up, let's see, we want to rotate it so that it's kind of up, maybe tilted forward a little bit, that kind of a thing. And then we actually just need to position it so that it's more up and to the side of the camera, maybe a little bit forward so the camera can see it. Let's preview. Okay, we can see the shovel, but only a very little bit of it. So let's just play around with these values. It seems kind of a bit too big with how close we have it to the camera, which may be a bit of an issue. But let's just hop out of preview for a second and have it be a little bit more forward and such. That is not what we want. We want to just preview. Okay, that's I guess, better. Let's try to get this rotation somewhat decent. We probably don't need the whole shovel in frame, but a good enough of it that you can tell what it actually is. It seems decent. You can definitely tell what it is. We rotate it a little bit more. It's kind of like you're holding it, you know, with your arm maybe a little bit lower, and you got the shovel end sticking up. That seems reasonable. Okay, so then what happens if we... Let's see, we'll have to figure out what we're actually going to do to the shovel to have it lock in place like this. So I think we want to pretty much disable the rigid body because we don't want it to hit into stuff. So we probably are going to, when we grab a shovel, we're going to put it in this position, obviously, and parent it to this parent, the rotator. But we probably also, want to turn off all the collision layers and set the collision shape 3D to be disabled, turn off gravity, and then maybe it'll work. Okay, it's not quite rotating with us the way we'd like it to be rotating with us. Did we mess something up? Is our rotator rotating correctly? Let's see. So in the camera control, we are doing get parent.rotate object local to get the X rotation, so that's good. And in the player movement, we are using the rotator's transform. So yeah, the rotator should be rotating. It seems like maybe the shovel is getting a little bit left behind by the rotator. Not sure, but it shouldn't be because we should be disabling everything. Let's make sure we, I guess, freeze the rigid body. That might help. Okay, there we go. Yeah, if we freeze the rigid body, it's still tilting back and forth a little, which is odd, but it is keeping its rotation. So you can see if we turn or whatever, it keeps its rotation. So that's good. So yeah, the next thing to do is probably to, oh, I see, it's keeping the X rotation, right, like this, but it's not keeping the Y rotation. So when we look up or we look down like this, then our shovel appears to be like going up or down because it's not actually rotating with the camera like this. Which I think is okay, especially if we could add an arm or something, which would be very nice. Because the shovel wouldn't rotate if there was like an arm holding it straight up and down like that. So I think that's okay. So the next step is, we need to have a way to, when we click on the shovel, we need to have it move from wherever it is to this position, and we'll reparent it, of course. So let's do that. So we can grab this. Let's see, what do we want to do? I think we want to add a node 3D, and then we're going to copy the transform of this shovel, and then we'll simply move the shovel from where it is on the ground to this node 3D, which we'll call, I don't know, placeholder. And then maybe we'll parent it to the placeholder just so it's nice and neat and it's always parented to the placeholder. And the idea is we only have one inventory slot, so there will only ever be one item under the placeholder as our thing that we're holding. So placeholder, we need to copy this thing's transform. Copy the position. Copy the rotation. There we go. Okay, so now if we were to, you can see these two things are in the exact same position and rotation. So if we were to click on our shovel on the ground over there, the regular shovel, then all we would have to do is, let's see. Okay, let's see what of these settings we actually needed. I know we needed freeze for sure. I'm not sure if we actually needed to change the collision layers. I think that seems kind of unnecessary. And then I'm also not sure if we needed to disable the collider, because I think the fact that the rigid body is disabled will be enough, but it also might not be, because we're now getting very weird movement. Let's try disabling the collider. Okay, we do need to disable the collider, but we don't need to change the collision layers because those are fine. So disable the collider, turn on freeze for the rigid body, and I think that's enough. So yeah, we're gonna want to be able to click on this guy, and then it'll zoop, move to where this shovel currently is, and change those settings. So we should be able to. I'm just gonna hide the shovel for now, I guess. Will that make it hidden in the game? Yes, it will. Okay, so I'm gonna hide the shovel for now because we shouldn't need it, and then we'll add our code to move it. So for now, let's just teleport it. In the moment, we may want to make it like kind of move smoothly with a tween or something like that. But for now, let's just teleport the shovel from on the ground to our held in hand position, which we will do here. So we have our raycast, and we check if it's hitting something. And if it is hitting something, then we get that something. And then let's check if it is in group. Not sure why that didn't autocomplete. But if it is in group, let's say tool. And then we can go to our shovel somewhere out here. Where is it? Shovel. Here we go. Let's just rename it to shovel. And we're gonna go to node, go to groups, and then we can add a group, which we will call tool. And we can add this. And now, it'll only print out the name if it's something that is in the tool group. So you can see nothing's printing out here. But if we point at the shovel, it'll print out the shovel's name. So we only print out tool, which means we're only considering tools. So then what we can do is we can say, let's just go ahead and say picking up whatever it is. And then we're going to say, let's see, collider.getChild. Let's see, and then we need to get the collider child, because the collider, what we're calling collider, we should probably not be calling collider, because it's actually the rigid body. I believe it gets called. Let me, yeah, because it's called shovel. If it were one of these, it would be called the shovel model or shovel collider. So we can actually say this is the RB, this is the rigid body. When we call get collider, it actually gives us the rigid body. So there we go. So we say rigid body.getChild1 to get the collider, and then we want to say, let's see, we want to set disabled to true. So there we go. That's the first thing, is to disable the collider. The second thing is on the rigid body, we need to turn off, I think we need to turn off gravity. Rigid body.gravity scale equals 0. And also actually we might not need to do gravity. Let's try it without gravity. And just freezing it, because freezing I know is the most important. So I think it's just freeze. You could just set the bool freeze equal to true. If we tell it what this is, rigid body 3D, then it might give us autocomplete. rb.freeze. rb.set freeze. No. Where is freeze? Somewhere in here. Deactivation freeze. Okay, let's just try rb.freeze equals true. And then the last thing is rb.position equals, and then we need to have a placeholder probably as a reference. So we'll say at onReady variable play. We need to spell onReady correctly, of course. Variable placeholder, which is of course just a regular node 3D, equals rotator.getChild1, and I'll put it in the right order here. Let's see. Oh no, this is the right order. Camera. Sure, rotator.getChild. Yeah, sure, that order's fine. Okay, and then we'll set rigid body.position equals placeholder.position. So now, if we go out, what was that? we can undo that because sometimes our raycast will be hitting things like a static body or an area in 2D or something, so it won't fit into a rigid body variable very nicely, and it won't like us. Okay, so picking up shovel, but it did not actually pick up the shovel, so maybe we got some errors. We do, but they're not related to this. There's just some random resource error which has been plaguing us for a while, I think, so it's not related to this, so we don't need to worry about that. Okay, so why did our position setting rigid body dot position equals placeholder dot position, why didn't that work? That is the question for us today. So we disabled it and we froze it. Let's actually check if those are working. So if we run the scene, we go over to the shovel and we say, boop, picking up shovel, then we should be able to go to the remote version of the scene. Here's a logger, by the way, that we use for logging things to the screen. As you can see, it created one for us, even though we did not ask for one in the scene. It goes and creates one to make sure there's always one. But anyway, we go to, let's see. The shovel was not reparented, because this is our old shovel. Oh, we forgot to reparent it. That could be part of the problem. So let's rb.set, no. We need to say add placeholder.add child rigid body. Now, if we move it over, maybe that should be the first thing we do. Let's disable it, then add it as a child, and then set its position. Boop. Okay, let's see what worked, because obviously it did not fully work. Okay, the parent setting did not work, so it's still under props. And it is, let's see if it's deactivated. Freeze is set to true, so that did work. And on the collider, disabled is on. So we definitely, these lines worked, so excellent. But the reparenting did not work, so we need to take a look at that. Let me see. Okay, we need to look at the Godot reparenting node. Let's see. Reparent. Node.reparent. There we go. We need to say rb.reparent, and then we need to pass in the new parent, which in this case is placeholder. Excellent. We'll reparent it to the placeholder, and we will say, we can say whether it's keeping its global transform or not. There's an optional Boolean variable there, but we won't touch that for now. Which does actually remind me we should probably actually be setting the global position and not the local position, just to make sure that we are in the correct spot. Okay, let's see this. Click. Okay, it went somewhere, so that's progress. If we go to the remote version of the scene, we check the player, the rotator. It still didn't get parented somehow. Kind of weird. Oh, no, it did get parented. It got parented to placeholder. Okay, perfect. I was thinking it was going to be in the main rotator thing, but it was actually under the placeholder, which is where we asked it to be. So that's perfect. The only question is why it isn't positioned quite correctly. So if we reactivate this shovel here, we can see that it is positioned correctly. Because this is our old shovel that we manually positioned, and this is our new shovel. And if we go into the game, we can't see the new shovel. Oh, we can. Its position is correct, but its rotation is not, because we did not set its rotation. So that makes a lot of sense. Let's actually instead set its transform. So that we get the position, the rotation, and the scale if we had applied any scaling. Okay, that didn't That's not quite right. Maybe we should go back to setting the global position and then just also set the rotation. It's now not good. We need, is there a global rotation perhaps? That is what we would like. I'm not sure if that actually exists. Have a great day. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Ah, excellent. Global rotation for the win. Okay, so now we can pick up the shovel. The next thing we need to do is probably add switching, right? So let's say we make this rake into a tool, and we need to be able to switch between the shovel and the rake. So when we click on the rake, which obviously isn't set up yet, then we should drop the shovel, pick up the rake. Because remember, we're only allowed to have one tool at a time, one inventory slot. That's what the game jam is about. So, and then the other thing is we want it to move smoothly. We don't want it to just instant snap because that's kind of weird. We want it to actually look like it moves smoothly to there. So we should probably add that as well. And the way you do that in Godot is with tweens. So let me just Google search this, Godot tweens. And we can take a look at it together, because I have used these a little bit before, but not that much. So what we do is we say, we create a tween, and a tween is short for in between. So it goes from one thing to another thing smoothly, and it could be any property, right? So you could say the modulate, so you could change the color of something, the scale of something, and in our case, the position and rotation of something. So what we want to do is we want to say beep boop boop beep. We want to create a new tween. Let's call this pause tween for the position tween, and we will say pause tween dot tween property, and we got to say what object we're tweening on. So this is going to be the rigid body. What property we're doing? So this is going to be global position. And then where we want it to go. So we would like it to go to the placeholder's global position. And then how long we want it to take. So we would like it to take 1 second. Sure, that sounds reasonable. And then we're going to do the exact same thing, but with the rotation. So we'll say rot tween equals, and rot tween does tween property global rotation. And we will set it to placeholder.global rotation. So that's a really cool way to smoothly transition between one thing and another. And I think it'll just work this simply. I could be wrong though. Happens occasionally. Oh, look at that. It was I don't know what was up with the path there. It was very convoluted, but it was very nice and smooth. Very nice and smooth. And again, you just have to change it from like one line to like 2 lines. So I kind of like that. It's a little bit weird, but it's kind of like, you know, a person reaches down, picks up a shovel, rotates it, holds it. I don't know. It seems reasonable. It seems reasonable. So, yeah. All right, we have smooth picking up. And again, it just literally went from 2 lines to 4 lines. Very simple, very easy to understand stuff going on here. So the next thing is if the time is, I think the time's fine. I think the time's probably fine. But I am a little bit concerned that once we have multiple tools, someone might spam this and then the tweening could get weird. So what you usually want to do with any kind of animation that takes time is you want to add a Boolean that says to not do anything. So here, that wasn't very explanatory. So let's say a variable picking up equals false, right? So it's a Boolean. And then we'll only check this if picking up is false, right? So if we get a raycast hit and we're not already picking something up, then we'll do this. And the first thing we'll do is right here, we'll set picking up equal to true. As soon as we see that we have a tool to pick up, and we'll set picking up equal to true, because that's what we're going to do next. And then in the callback, so basically when the tween is done, and we can say either tween, it doesn't matter because they're both 1 second long. We can say function tween over. And that will be the callback, self.tween over. And in the callback, we'll say picking up equals false. So now, as soon as we start picking something up, we'll set picking up to true, and that'll only stop once we've actually finished the animation, finished the picking up animation tween thing, right? So that will allow us to not have someone try to call 2 tween animations on the tool at once or something like that. All right, so we're picking it up very nicely, very happy with that. Now let's add the rake as another tool, and we'll see if we can get it to switch between them. And I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna have to do because the rake might need different offsets than the shovel or something. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Ideally, I guess, since we have the rigid, both of the shovel and the other thing are wrapped in a rigid body. Uh-oh. Shovel model is... Oh, this is the wrong shovel. We can also delete this extra shovel now. It was just confusing me. We have an extra shovel that was in here as our test. We can remove it now because we have a shovel system working. Yeah, we can just walk around with our little shovel. And it does unfortunately clip into there a little bit, so that's a little weird. Maybe we'll resolve it later. But adding the rake. The rake. So I think if we duplicate the shovel, and we will call this rake, and then we will remove the shovel model and instead put in the rake model. So let's drag the rake model into here, call it rake model. We'll rename this to rake collider. And we will delete the old shovel model and try to position the rake close to the shovel, because if we make sure that the rake and shovel are in the same position here, then it will allow them to be in the same position when we pick them up as our player character. So let's reset this thing's position and rotation. And we can see it's kind of weird because it's at an angle, but I think we want it to be more like this type of a situation. I think it's backwards right now, so let's rotate it like this and then tilt this like this, that the bar is pretty much just in the same spot. Maybe tilt it back a little bit more again, over a little bit more again, that type of thing. So it should be in a very similar type of situation to the shovel, which is what we want. Okay, perfect. And then we need to probably change the collider, because the collider is probably not very accurate for this. I think we'll stick with a rectangle. That's probably okay, but we may need to change some of the rotations. Let's see. Yeah, the rotation just is a little wonky. I don't know. I guess because the shovel has some weird rotations, but if we move the rake away a little bit now that we've got the positioning better. Yeah, we can see that it's a very weird rotation here. So we need to probably undo the rotation on the collider here. Let's see. Kind of put it back to a more normal kind of situation. Okay, and then I think I might have to leave it as a little bit wider than the pole, because it's also obviously going to be narrower than that thing down there. We really should have a better collider, but we don't, so we're just going to keep rolling with this. I think that's decent. We'll see how it looks in the game. Okay, so we need to add dropping the shovel, but that rake actually looks excellent. It's slotted in a pretty good position, so I'm very happy with that. So as long as we adjust it so that if there's already a tool, we just drop the old tool, then we will be in good shape. Yeah, we're really cruising along, so this is definitely excellent. Definitely stop me if you have any questions. We have plenty of time. We're doing great on time. Okay. So, if we just clicked on a tool, then we need to check if there's something in the placeholder. Because remember, the placeholder is where we're storing the tools. So if the placeholder has a child, then we need to kick that child out. So let's see if placeholder.getChild0. If there is a child already in there, then we need to do some stuff to that child. So we'll say old tool equals placeholder.getChild0. And then we need to undo basically these things. We should also put picking up equals true to be the first line still, just for safety. So we still can't accidentally call this twice. Okay, so old tool. We're gonna undo these things. So freeze on the old tool is gonna be false, disable in the old tool is gonna be false, and instead of reparenting it to the placeholder, we're gonna reparent it to getTree.getCurrentScene. We are making basically we're participating in a game jam by a guy called Captain Coder, and the idea of the game jam is kind of the theme of the game jam is to make a game. The theme is only one inventory slot, so you only have one inventory slot. But the other thing about the game jam that's really interesting is I'm trying to pull it up on itch.io. But the other thing about the game jam that's really interesting is you're also, along with the game you submit, you also submit a blog or a vlog, or at least you're encouraged to. You're not required to. And you submit a blog or a vlog about what you've done, and try to help other people also kind of learn what you've done as well. And again, it can be a video, a live stream, a written article, whatever you want. And so it kind of, yeah, the goal is, and there's prizes too. I think the top prize is like $250, so that's pretty nice. But our idea that we are going with is, for this jam, is to make a sort of escape room type game, except it's not inside of a room, it's outside on a farm. Hence why we have these different farm equipment, like this shovel here. And we can now switch between them, but something is weird, because they keep getting further over every time we switch between them. Okay, and now was it because I was rotating, perhaps? It might have been because I was rotating while picking it up. Let's see. Okay, so if you stay still while picking it up, it works. But if you don't, it doesn't work. They are falling, being released and falling very nicely, but for some reason they're kind of hitting the ground and then shimmering through it. I wonder if maybe the ground collider is a little bit too low, so they're able to fall partially through the ground visualization, because the collider and the visual component are separate. So we have the collider, and then we have the visualization component. So I think perhaps the collider is, the ground was a little bit too high, so the tool could partially fall through it onto the collider. I don't know, because they look fine here. And yeah, it looks like if you rotate while, okay, that didn't help. If you rotate while you're picking it up, it looks absolutely terrible. See, so okay, I'm doing it too much, but if I click this and then rotate just a little bit, it goes to that position, because we've told the tween to go to exactly that position. So how can we mitigate this? Because basically the tween records the position of where we are and then starts to move towards that, and then we move and that's no longer our position. It's very unattractive. How can we mitigate this and make it so that they can't, I don't know, can't completely look away while it's being picked up? One option is just to freeze them, which if it's a short pickup time, then that wouldn't be too bad, but if it's a 1 second pickup time, they might notice. So let's see. Variable pickup time equals 0.5. Let's make the pickup time 0.5 seconds for now. And then we'll put it in both of the tweens as our pickup time. We'll, of course, export this variable. We need to specify that's a float for Godot to be happy with us. And there we go. So now if we export this variable, we should also probably export these other variables. I'm not sure why we haven't. say they're both floats. Okay, so if we export this variable, then we can kind of play around with it a little bit better. But then the idea is to freeze the player while they're picking up a tool. So we already have this picking up bool, so that's actually really handy. We could go to the physics process and we could say if picking up, because this is where our movement code is down here. So we could say if picking up, return, and don't do the movement code. And that would certainly freeze us. Okay, it actually did not, because the problem isn't moving. Well, moving is presumably a problem. But the problem that we're seeing right now isn't moving, it's because of the rotating. So we actually need the camera to deal with this as well. So we'll say variable player equals get parent dot get parent. Of course, this needs to be an @onReady, which it basically just means it puts those under here at the end of your, or actually possibly at the beginning of your ready function. So basically by doing this, we're just saying this part up here and then this part goes down here. It's just so that we can look at them more easily and have all the variables up here and know how they're getting initialized. But it basically just copies that code down to here. So the player is the camera's get parent dot get parent, so that should get a reference to the player. And then we can say if event is input event mouse motion and not player dot what was it, picking up, picking up, not pick up, picking up. Okay, so if the mouse is moving and the player isn't picking something up, so now rotation won't happen while the player's trying to pick something up. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it works. It's a little bit weird because they can't move for a second while they're picking something up. But hey, you know, these things happen. And it's not a full second, it's just a half second. So hopefully that's, hopefully they're happy enough with that. Okay, I really don't like, this never seems to happen to the shovel, but the rake seems to really like getting clipped into the ground. So maybe the rake's collider isn't the best. Let's take a look at that. Because especially the top of the rake that seems to get clipped into the ground. So I kind of, that's why I kind of think it's the rake's collider isn't lined up properly or something. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's definitely not far enough down. Let's see. Boop. Yeah, the collider was pretty much just completely off there. So make it a little bit thicker too, just for safety. I think that should work. Again, very simple game, very limited amount of time. We only have like a week or something to do this. I think the jam was like 2 weeks long, but we didn't start till a week in. So very limited amount of time to do this. It doesn't need to be the best collider ever. It is a little bit odd that the rake can stand up because its collider is a rectangle like that. So we may actually need to not have that happen. Also, the rake seems to be too heavy for us to knock over even when we walk into a full on, so that's a little bit weird. Try to consolidate the ground and ground collision due to a single node or modify object collision. Yeah, no, we actually, you're probably right. And now that we have tuned the ground and the ground collider, we should probably put them in the same node because it's a little bit, otherwise if we move the ground or something, then we wouldn't move the collision. So that's definitely true. We can just throw that in there. Okay. Let's see. So the picking up is working. We can switch between tools, etc., etc. Oh, we were unhappy because the rake was able to stand up, and we didn't like that very much. Props, rake collider. I don't know. I'm considering making it a capsule instead of, you know, a box. So that's more appropriate, but I don't know. Maybe we could do 2 colliders. I'm not sure. We might be able to do 2 colliders. I'm actually not that experienced with Godot. I only started a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month. Let's see. Maybe 2 months. Let's see if we can do 2 colliders and in the same rigid body. I think we should be able to. But if we can, then we can have 2 colliders, and obviously it'll be much more accurate. So we'll have one for the rake part and one for the long handle. Let's rotate this out a little bit. Let's make it decent. That looks okay. It's rotated a little wonky. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Okay, and then we'll duplicate that. We'll call it handle collider. Try to make the collision capsule for wow, YouTube chat, they made it really weird. Yeah, we can try to make it collision capsule. So this handle collider will be a capsule. Exactly. Capsule. Not nearly this large, because that is a huge capsule. Something like that. Actually lined up pretty nicely if we just rotate it a tiny bit. The positioning is a little off. And this should definitely fall over. There should be no way for this thing to stand up. So it has a rounded end and everything. Okay, it's a bit too long. Way too long. Okay, apparently it was going into the ground. It's actually ginormous. Very, very long. Oh, it's a little bit annoying. The rake handle is apparently very crooked. But we should be able to work it out. Let's see. Something like that should be about right, I think. It can overlap. I think it can overlap with the other collider. I don't know. I actually haven't tried this before. But that's a decent positioning, so yeah, let's go ahead and test out our theory and see if this works. If not, the rake will probably be like flipping around going crazy, so we should know. Okay, it's not liking us. It's making us move around. Yes, that might not work. We can try just the capsule and see if that's better than before. I'm a little bit worried that it'll be too hard to click for players. I don't know. Okay, that was pretty easy. Also that's kind of weird. That's very weird. Okay, we might have to go back to a square. Because it didn't like the two collisions. Didn't like the two collisions, and the just capsule makes it too rolly aroundy. So yeah, we might have to go back to a rectangle. Just keep undoing until we get back to where we were. Here we go. Oh, that's way too many undos. But redo. Man, I love undo and redo features. They are very handy. Okay, here we go. Okay, we can make it not quite as thick, so it hopefully falls over at least a little bit easier. And not quite as thick this way as well. Let me see. How thick is it right now? Seems reasonable. Okay. Let's see if that helps. I think it looks good. Switch. You know, it's stuck into the ground a little bit, but not that much. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit wonky. Not as good as the shovel, because the shovel's basically just a rectangle, but that's a little bit too much. We might just have to go with it for now. Maybe we'll come up with something better later. But for now, okay, the jittering is definitely annoying. Let me see. What can we do? Solver, maybe. Deactivation. Oh, we could turn can sleep back on. I think sometimes that helps with jittering. I think we turned it off before when we were, I don't know, troubleshooting or something. But can sleep usually helps with jittering, because after it falls over, it's just like, okay, no more simulation until something happens. Okay, it also might not help with jittering, in which case we... Okay, it doesn't help with jittering. It doesn't. Okay, but I think it's okay for now. We will worry about a little bit more polish a little bit later, but for now, onward. I'm thinking, let's see, what do you get? Okay, we need to come up with an actual game plan for how the game is going to go down. We have a rake, and we have a shovel, and we have an X marks the spot, which is where we're going to dig. Then we have a bucket. So the bucket will get you water. Ooh, here's an idea. If this farm is actually being searched for treasure, hence the X marks the spot, there could be a pit, and in that pit, next to the pit is like a collection of, let me create a new node page for us. A new page. No, like a new page. Can I get a new page, please? Thank you. Okay, so the idea is that this farm is being searched for treasure, and somehow no one noticed the giant X. I don't know how. But there are holes, and next to one is a pile of dirt. And in that pile of dirt is the shovel. So you get the bucket of water, you find the bucket, and the path is like this, right? We can add more things here too. But currently you find the bucket, you get some water, we'll have to add water, and you pour the water on the pile to like mud it away, to make it turn into mud and leak away, and then you get the shovel. And then you use the shovel digs at the X, and that will give you the key, and you will use the key to get into the barn, which I think is the goal of the game, to get into the barn, to get away, something like that. So you find the bucket, you get some water, we'll have to add a water puddle, you pour that water on the pile of mud, or the pile of dirt to make it mud, and that gives you the shovel, which is secretly hidden in the pile. You use the shovel to get the X, you get the key, you unlock the barn, and you're free. Or you have gold or something, I don't know, something good happens when you unlock the barn. So that's nice. Oh, but where does the rake come in? The rake comes in, what do you do with a rake that will give you loot? Oh, you reach into the branches of one of the trees and you knock something down. That could work. What would you knock down, though? A bucket. You knock down the bucket. Okay. You start out by finding the rake, and then you use rake on one of the trees, to get the bucket. And then with the bucket, you get water. With the water, you get the shovel from the pile of mud. Then when you did get the X, you get the key, and with the key, you get into the barn and win. I think that's pretty solid. We already have the shovel and the rake. So all we have to add is being able to use things like use the rake on the tree, which we already have rake casting, so it's pretty much just, is this a tree? Yes. Is this the right tree? Send down whatever it is, the bucket. And then get water. Again, we add a water puddle, then it's like, is this water? If you have the bucket, is this water? Fill the bucket with water. And then again, is this a mud pile? If yes, destroy the mud pile, because water, magic, whatever. And then is this the X spot? Give key, that type of thing. So I think it's pretty straightforward. Maybe it could be a little bit more complex. If you guys have any ideas about what we could add. We also have a crate, I think. We have a crate, and we have a tomato plant. And of course, we can always Google more things. Like, we're already gonna have to get a key somewhere. But we have a bucket, and we can put water in the bucket pretty easily by probably just adding a plane and making it blue. So we have some, I think we have a solid game plan here. It's a little bit short. I would definitely like more ideas so we can expand on this. But it's a good start. It's a good start. And again, it's all basically using the same interaction work, right? Once we have a way to interact with stuff, then we can just copy paste that a few times and we'll have our whole game basically. So, we need to make the bucket as well, a tool as well. So let's grab the shovel, since that's our OG tool. We will, oh, that's way too high. Oh wait, which one do you find? You find the rake, so we should hide the rake. The shovel can be out here because it's going to be in the mud pile or whatever. But the rake will hide behind a tree very subtly. And sometimes you can just put them a little bit above the ground just to make sure they don't clip in, so that then they can just fall into the ground. And then balance. Hopefully that balances. Let's see if that balances. this is how the game will begin, with you looking for the rake. Of course, you don't know you're looking for the rake. Once you find it, hopefully you'll click it and pick it up, which is pretty nifty. Okay, so that's the start of the game. Is it ready? And we have the shovel. Okay, let's go down the path of the game. Okay, find rake is done. Let's put a little check mark by it. That's the best I can do. Wait, actually, colon check. There we go. That did not work. Colon check. Colon check. There we go. Find rake is checked off. Use rake on tree to get bucket. Okay, so we need to make one of the trees be the tree that gives you the bucket, and if you use the rake on it, it needs to give you the bucket. So, trees. Let's see which one. So if you find the rake there, it should probably not be there that you get it from. It should probably be one of these other unassuming trees. Let's do this one. I think this one's reasonable. So we will call this one bucket tree. And in our script, our player movement script, we have, I guess we should probably rename it from player movement at some point, but okay. So if the currently we have a rigid body, which could also be a static body, so it's not a great name. But anytime we have the raycast and it hits something and we're not already in the process of picking something up, if it's a tool, then we do this code. Otherwise, if it is a interactable, then we'll do other stuff, because there's going to be few interactables: the pile of dirt, the pond that we get the water from, the tree. There's going to be few interactables, so we definitely need a group for that. So bucket tree will be an interactable. And in here we'll check which specific interactable it is. So we'll check if RB, I guess we'll just use names, is equal to bucket tree. Then we want to have the bucket become active. Okay, so we can put the bucket in the tree and have its rigid body be turned off, and then we'll just turn the rigid body on if they click the bucket tree. It'll just fall down. So that should be reasonable. We should probably also add something to the other trees. Use rake on other trees. Get something. Something should fall out of the other trees, just so you understand. If you use the rake on any tree, then you understand that it can be used on trees, and then hopefully you'll just go around and try to find the right one. I don't know. Asking them to figure out to use the rake on the tree, that seems like a bit of an ask. But maybe we'll add like some kind of text down here that shows what the main character is thinking or something. I don't know. Or maybe they'll just have to click everything they possibly can until they find it. Oh, the other thing I just realized is the trees are currently, their collision is only this. So we probably want to make it more so that it fills out the whole thing. But I'm not sure if that's going to do the same thing. I don't think it'll go rogue like the like that other one did. What was it that went rogue? I think it was the rake went rogue when we added 2 collisions, but it was also a rigid body. These can't really go rogue because they're static bodies, so I don't think it'll be a problem if we just add like another big collision. Let's call this leaves, and then we will make it a sphere, I think. What do we have? Sphere shape 3D, and then we'll just cover the leaves with it. It can be pretty generous. Doesn't really need to be precise because the player can't hit into it. I made the radius smaller instead of bigger. Okay, so it might be a little bit too much. It's a very generous collider, but I think that's okay. We just want to get if they click anywhere near the leaves, we would like to give them the click. Okay, let's make sure the tree doesn't like go crazy or anything. Print. There we go. If it's a bucket tree, we'll print that it's the bucket tree. Okay, this is the bucket tree, right? Hang on. Yeah, this is the bucket tree. Okay, it's not working. Actually, it probably is. We just forgot to do logger.log. Instead, we did our print function, which we don't like. We would rather the on-screen log. Here we go. Bucket tree is printing correctly. It's not going rogue or anything, even if we click the leaves. Perfect. So now I would like to delete all of the trees because we would like them all to have this functionality so that we can potentially add something to fall out of them. What can we add to fall out of them? Let's have every tree have something that it can fall out, out of it. So if it's not, you know, the bucket tree, then it'll at least drop like a, I don't know, what do we have? Cabbage? That seems reasonable. What does the cabbage look like? That was the texture of the cabbage, not the cabbage itself. That looks like leaves. I think that's reasonable. The trees are going to drop cabbage. That seems, yeah, sure. You know, why not? It's all leaves. When the player opens the barn, they will find a device resembling a radio common carrier on a table. Trigger sound and text simulator. Okay, I mean, that could work. It might be, my main concern with that would be, it might be a little bit long, because remember, we have a very limited time here. But at least the idea of they could find like a radio and then radio for help. That could definitely work. That could definitely work. Okay, so if they interact with the tree, they're gonna get cabbage, but hopefully they won't realize it's cabbage and they'll think it's just a clump of leaves, which is good. So let's rename this to leaves, just in case someone looks at the source code, which they won't, but you know, leaf, let's call it leaf clump. And then we will, we need to give it a rigid body and everything too. Okay, so props, we need to copy what we did with the shovel, duplicate, grab the leaf clump, throw it on the shovel too, call this leaf clump as well, and then remove the shovel model. Because I want them to be able to pick up the leaf clump if they so desire. That is why we are copying the shovel, so that it is the same, and we can make sure that that it will show up properly in the rendering, because we know how the shovel looks, so we can base the position of the leaf clump on how the shovel looks, and then it should be reasonable. Okay, this is a big leaf clump. I did not realize. Okay, it's upside down. Or should we leave it upside down? We might want to leave it upside down so they can't tell it's a cabbage. Let's make it look like that. And hopefully will be a decent height. And then we will delete the shovel model, change the shovel collider to a sphere, and then shrink it just a tiny bit so that it fits on the cabbage. So the cabbage has a decent collider. Perfect. Okay, feeling pretty good about this, but before we put it in the trees or whatever, let's make sure we can pick it up okay. There we go, we got a little leaf clump. Shovel, leaf clump. Shovel, shovel, leaf clump. So if they want to pick up the leaf clump, it's kind of a, yeah, now we have like a nice little red herring. So if maybe they think the leaf clump will be helpful, but psych, it's actually not, it's useless. It's only to give you the idea that you should click on the trees with the rake. Like this. Like this. Oh, like this, okay. So, the issue there was, by the way, my mouse was going off screen because I have a second monitor over there. And we still haven't figured out how to make the mouse not go off screen. But if this is a full screen game and they don't have two monitors, which they won't, because that would be really weird for them to have that, just randomly while they're playing a very simple game, then we should be fine. Okay, leaf clump is working, so let's put it in the tree. And we'll remove it from the bucket tree. This is really just for all the other trees. Scale changes will be overridden. Okay, that's fine. We don't care about the scale changes. Okay. That did not duplicate. I intended to duplicate. Duplicate. And this will make sure that these are all in the interactable group. So they will all be able to drop their leaf clump. Actually, let's make the leaf clump the 0th child, so we can just have whatever the 0th child is be dropped. Yeah, that sounds good. Do 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 do. Never mind. Let's undo that. The leaf clumps are not centered on the tree at all. So let's undo all of those. Remove all of the trees. We would like the leaf clump to actually be in the tree. And then, in addition to it being hidden away in the tree, we also want to make its if it's in that collider, though, it's going to be a problem. Let's put it just yes, because the collider is a sphere, so we can actually tuck it away in one of these that's outside, one of these chunks here that's outside the thing. We could add an interact interface. Use the character. Oh, that's true. That's true. Or even just an interact prompt where they can still click, but it's just a prompt, so that way if they look at the tree, then they realize it's interactable, even if they weren't planning on interacting with it. That could definitely be helpful. Or even, to make it even more subtle, we could just have like a little text prompt that's like the character's thoughts or whatever, and then if they look at a tree, it could just say, a tree. I wonder what I might find up there, or something like that. So that could be good. Okay, our leaf thing is, I think, hidden away and it's also not inside of the collider, which is what we want. Just want to make sure it doesn't get stuck inside there. Okay, and then we also need to freeze it. So, deactivation, freeze, and just to, I think just freezing it should be okay. Let's make sure it works though. So if, let's change the interactable group name to tree, because we may have, I think the interactable situation for the tree might be slightly different than the interactable situation for other things. So if it's in group tree, then we are going to say rb.getChild0 dot this is always going to be the 0th child, the leaf clump or the bucket. For the special bucket tree, we'll just have it be a bucket instead of a leaf clump. But what we want to do is we want to say freeze equals false. And I think that's it. I think that's all we need to do. Also a little bit weird that you start looking down. We might have to fix that. Maybe we'll have a starting animation though, who knows. Oops, we need to check if we have the rake. That looked good, but we need to check if we have the rake. If it's in the group tree and placeholder.getChild0.name is equal to rake. Make sure this is named rake. Excellent. Okay, so if they have the rake, because obviously you can't reach all the way up there on your own, we need to make sure placeholder actually has a child. And placeholder.getChild0, and there we go. So now it won't crash if we don't have a child. So let's see, click, 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 nothing happens because we don't have anything. Oh, we could also have it be like if they try to click on it without the rake, it could say like, oh, it can't reach or something like that. Excellent. And then we can pick up the leaf clump, or we could go back to picking up the rake. It also crashes because we already have, yes. So if we've already taken the thing out of the tree, let's actually just remove it from the group tree. So we could say rb.remove, how do we remove something from a group? I don't know. Godot remove node from group. Let's take a look. Script. In the script, remove from group. Perfect. So we can go and say remove from group tree. So if it's no longer in the tree group, then we won't be trying to get a leaf out of it again. Excellent. So nothing. What the heck? We don't have a rake. Why did it let us do that? It's very odd. What? Why? Why did it? Oh, we clicked the cabbage itself. There was nothing stopping us from clicking the cabbage itself, because the cabbage We clicked the cabbage, and so then we picked up the cabbage because the cabbage was in the tree. Do we like that? Is that fine? Can we actually just rip the leaves out? No, we can't. No, we can't. Because then they could click the bucket, and that would be bad. So we need to add an additional check so that not all things that can be picked up can be picked up. Oh, we could just leaf clump. We can remove the tool group. And when we get it out of the tree, we can add group, presumably, I'm just guessing about the syntax here, tool. So the bucket and the leaves, while they're in the tree, they won't have the group until we actually get them out of the tree. So we can't pick it up right now. And if we go and get the rake, we can... That didn't work. Okay, add group was not the correct syntax. Godot, actually, if we just command click on this, remove from group. Okay, never mind. It's not command clickable. Godot, add node to group script. Add to group. Okay, it's just longer. I should have guessed since it's removed from group. Okay, add to group tool. Now, again, we go in here. The leaf is somewhere up there, but even if they accidentally click like that, it will not let them. But if we get the rake, then we can click on here and it will drop it. We don't want to add the tree to the group. We would like to add tree.getChild0 to the group. We don't want the tree to become a tool because then we will get an error when this section happens to the tree. That is not what happens. You cannot pick up a tree. Thank goodness it didn't let us. That would have been bad. Okay, no picking upping. We can teleport the rake from all the way over there. Maybe we should do something about that. And there, it drops out. Everything's fine with the tree. Everything's fine with the leaf. Everyone's happy. Okay, nice. I'm pretty happy with this progress so far. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to make more trees and have one of them have a bucket in it. Mouse mode confines the mouse cursor to the game window. Make it visible. Oh, wait, really? Wait, no, we don't want confined because it makes it visible. Hidden confines it to the window. Hidden. I think we had a problem with hidden. Maybe I'm wrong. Ready. Oh, we are using hidden. We're using hidden, and it still lets it out. But confined is bad too because it shows the mouse. Let's see. Oh, what about captured? No, captured didn't work either. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure captured didn't work because it's still like what? What did it do? Never mind. It was captured. I think it works. No errors yet. Okay, maybe I'm dumb. I thought we tried captured, but I guess we didn't. I don't know. Maybe we tried hidden. Maybe we tried confined. Oh, confined hidden. Okay. I apparently my attention span gave out before I read the second half of your message. No, it doesn't, because then when we get to the edge of the screen, it doesn't like it. This is us getting to the edge of the screen. I think captured was kind of working, at least kind of. It seemed like it was working. Let's go with captured until we have a problem. Confined hidden seems to hit the edge of the screen when we get to the edge. Okay. So that's working. Now we need to duplicate the tree again. So we have a bunch of trees with the leaves of cabbage that come out of them. And then one of them, we will replace the bucket tree. We will, of course, replace the cabbage with a bucket. So we would just call this regular tree since it's just a regular tree and not a bucket tree. Let's, of course, rotate it to make it look good. We want these to be a little different. Maybe we could even have it be a little crookedy. All right. Maybe it won't stand up forever. And we just want to have a few trees to go with. And I guess we probably need a decent amount of trees to hide the X so it's not like that obvious. And then we should probably add trees out of bounds too. Just to make it feel more populated, I think. So we grab all the trees, and then we would just copy and paste them out into Oblivion. So we have them everywhere. Is there a way to have all the arrows and rounds at once? I don't think so. Oh wait, here we go. There we go. Excellent. Arrows in rotation all at once just by going to select mode. Very nice. So I want to make it look nice and populated. And also hide the extra X's since we just cloned our ground situation. And didn't bother placing those. Okay, surely that is enough. Maybe another one right here. This part right here feels a little sparse. See if we can get a decent rotation that doesn't mess everything up. That looks just about right. Okay. There are now trees absolutely everywhere. It looks great. We can not do anything if we're empty-handed, but if we grab our trusty rake, then bing, leaves are coming down everywhere. Bing, 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 even outside. Bing, bing. Okay, we apparently have a very long rake range. We should probably fix that. But that is looking nice. Very happy with that. All the leaves coming down. Okay, and then we just need to modify it so one of them houses a bucket instead of leaves. What game engine do I actually use? Well, I'm learning Godot because I want to learn Godot, but in general, Unreal Engine because I like Unreal Engine a lot. That's what I've. Oh, I guess I don't technically have a. I have one kind of release game in that, but yeah, I guess that's about it. But yeah, that's Unreal is what I am most familiar with. But soon Godot will be just as familiar with. I'm just still learning it for now. Yeah, I don't know how long it'll take, but couple months in, and I've certainly learned a lot about Godot, but there's certainly much more to learn still. I don't like it as much as Unreal, to be honest, but it is a very good game engine. It's just not, for one thing, there's not as much free stuff, which I love free stuff. I mean, it is completely free, and Unreal technically has, if you make over $1 million or something, then you have to start paying them. But there's not like a marketplace where you can just get like 1,000 free assets, which you can with Unreal, which is very nice. So that's one of the reasons why Unreal is better. Okay, so it's feeling a lot more populated now. I kind of want to duplicate a couple barns here and there just to make it look a little more settled. We'll call our main barn Barn 1, or actually just barn, so that we can, not lose track of it. But these other barns, we can just put them here and there, all around, to kind of make it feel a lot more settled. And maybe we'll be able to actually fit one of these in and around. Yeah, I think we can fit one right here. Definitely. Perfect. We might be able to, okay, we can at least fit one here. It's not too bad. I'll fit one around here. Can we fit one here? Ooh, we might be able to. That would be a nice fit. Just squeezing it in so you can see the back of the barn. Perfect, I like that. Okay, it's definitely gonna feel a lot more settled after these extra barns are added in. Yeah, we got barns everywhere. Excellent. Okay, it still looks a little bit sparse further into the distance, so we might have to add some more trees later. But for now, I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that if you get a rake, which you can do from all the way over here, if you're good enough at aiming, which maybe I'm not, there we go, then you can drop leaves from trees all the way over there, which is not very desirable because it's a little bit weird and you can see them falling into the ground. So I'd like to limit the range. I think it's reasonable to like grab one here. I kind of like that. That if they're like, oh, are these real trees? Yes, they are. But when you get to something like that, something like that, something like that, it gets a little bit more unreasonable. So let's limit, I think we can limit the range just by editing the raycast thing. So the raycast 3D is actually an object, kind of a weird setup, but I mean, at least lets you parent it to something and then it will rotate with it. So that's nice. But if we set this to, let's say -1, just to make it very extreme, then I think we can, it will probably not allow us to reach very far. Yeah, see, can't pick it up anymore. So this can just be our range. Set it to -10, for example. Okay, we can pick it up from here. Can we pick it up from here? No. Yes. Okay, this might be a little bit long. Let's see how far we can reach. We can't reach that tree, so that's good. We can still reach that tree. So we could manually remove the collision from the trees, but I don't feel like doing that. For performance, we should probably also do it as well. But we have so many trees that I don't think we want to manually remove them from all the trees. So I'd like to, and I also want the range to be reasonable. Like, I don't want you to be able to reach the shovel from all the way over here. Like, that just doesn't make sense. So let's try -7.5. We can still reach there, so that's a little bit too long still. Let's try 5. I don't really know how big units are, I guess. Seems like 5 wouldn't be very much, but apparently it's a bit. Okay, now we can't reach that tree. Excellent. But we can still reach a decent length. What about like here? No? No? Yes. I think that's okay. It's not entirely realistic, but it's not too bad. Plus, I'd like you to be able to at least reach a couple of these ones outside, just so you can be like, oh yeah, those are real trees. My other concern is, can you drop this over the fence? And I think the answer is no. I don't think there's any way to. But we don't want you to be able to drop the rake over the fence, because then like you might not be able to complete the game. So that would be bad. That's too far, so that's good. This one's obviously should be, oh, never mind. I'm not even carrying the rake. What am I doing? Okay. That one is apparently close enough. So apparently it's a guy with very long arms, but not ridiculously long anymore. Can't like pick up that or something, so that's good. We could also just mask select them and then change the collision layer too. Yeah, but it's not too big of an issue. Let me see. How many trees have we got here? Trees. Oh my goodness, we got so many trees. I'll tell you what, if we get a performance issue, then we'll do it, because then we'll have a problem, and we'll have to remove all these collisions. But if we don't, this is like 77 trees. That seems like a little bit too much to deal with. And for now, we need to add the bucket, so we can actually get this game completed. Actually get the game, kind of, at least the main part of the game completed. Core loop. Which isn't really a loop, which is kind of sad. It's just like a single line, not a loop. So that's kind of bad game design, but we have limited time, so I think we're okay. We can also use these tomato plants to decorate if we want. It's kind of weird though. I feel like they're the kind that would be in rows because they have a little stake on them. You don't really have plants with stakes on them in the wild. So for now, we'll just leave that alone. Okay, bucket time. Let's duplicate the shovel again, as we always do. This new shovel we will call bucket, so that it can have the same properties and so we can get the positioning just right. And then the bucket model, we will set its position to something more reasonable. Lift it up a little bit so it's in the camera's field of view when we pick it up. Oh, it's a big bucket. Everything's big except for the shovel and rake. I guess they're a decent size. The bucket is like very large. That's got to be a big bucket. Like if this is a 6-foot shovel, this is like a 3-foot tall bucket. Maybe 2 foot tall. It's a decent sized bucket, I'd say. Okay. Bucket is in a decent spot, so we can delete the shovel model. Take the collider. We probably want a cylinder. I don't think they have any, like, a cone. Probably don't have a cone, yeah. So we'll do cylinder. That should be okay. You can modify the scale. Yeah, we could make it, honestly, we might make it a little smaller. It seems like a big bucket. We should probably make it smaller. 0.75. Oh, that's a little bit too small. What about a 0.85? Maybe even a 0.9. Just a little bit smaller. What was it originally? 1? Yeah, I think I like, let's split the difference, 0.875. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay. This is much too big of a collider, so we'll shrink it in a bit. Not too much, though. So, okay, I don't think it's centered. Just trying to make sure it's centered. Seems a little bit better. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, and then it's short. Make it short. Just like that. Perfect. Okay. Bucket is in good shape, I think. So let's see if we can pick it up. Now it's upside down. Oh, we should have realized that from the shovel. That's half the point of having the shovel. All right. But nonetheless, we can, in fact, flip both of these upside down. Did that work nicely? It actually did. Nice. Oh, not quite. This seems a little bit off angle. It's just lined up a little bit better. Okay.